Tether is the most profitable financial services organization in the world per employee. Why? Because they don't have all these other costs associated with offering banking services to the world. It's one of the most ubiquitous payment currencies. Obviously, it's come to Aptos recently. So Tether is an example to TradFi of what you can do in the Web3 ecosystem when you don't have to pay all this money to do all this stuff that computers do better. And so I think that this is now starting to be in the collective consciousness of bankers that Tether is so profitable. They don't have all these other costs. They don't have a bank branch. They don't have all these compliance officers. They don't do all these things because the public blockchains that they run on do them for them at a much, much cheaper rate. And so this, I believe, is going to lead to a mindset shift of we need to get into this Web3 thing. That is why they need to adapt or die. So on the one hand, TradFi has government capture. They own the regulators. They have the license to advertise around the world and distribute to the billions of people without fear of going to jail or anything like that. But they shoulder immense costs that DeFi applications don't have to pay for. So what's the solution? Put all activity on a public blockchain and maintain your license. And then you're as profitable or more profitable than Tether. So obviously they need to find a Web3 blockchain to use. The whole point of this is to give a high level what I'm thinking about why Aptos, right? So they need scalability. They need something that's very fast. It needs to be cheap. And it needs to be ultra reliable. Now, obviously, Avery is up here as the CTO giving lots of really cool statistics. That sounds great. But this is table stakes. That's just a starting point. We need to get them on the chain next. They need customization, especially on the compliance field, right? They need to be able to prove to their myriad of regulators that they're doing what they need to do on a public blockchain to make sure that the suitable people are trading their products. Now, in our, the world right now, it's people. It's hundreds of thousands of highly paid people doing manual processes, and that's called compliance. This can be done on a blockchain with no humans for, almost nothing, right? So we can take all these billions of dollars that are spent a year, and we can free all these very intelligent people to do other things that are better for the world than sitting and analyzing, compliance PDF. And it needs trust. They need to trust that the blockchain is always going to work, trust that the tech is good, and that the people building it, you guys in this room, are committed to building a product that can be used by the 8 billion people of this planet. Now, there's another thing that we want to think about is there's people in the financial services industry that the banks would rather not exist. Number one are exchanges, right? So the NASDAQ and ICE made about $12 billion of revenue last year. CME made a lot of money as well. Another organization that is a bane of the existence of banks is DTCC, at least in the United States. And this is an organization that custodies stocks and bonds in the US market. This company, you have to pay into this company every time you trade a stock. There's a little bit of a fee that goes to this organization. They made $2.2 billion US, right? It's not like they have a pit and they store pieces of paper like they did back in the day. And these guys make $2 billion a year in net income from the banks and essentially you as the client. And so if we're in this world where it's a race to zero for fees for trading, the banks are upset about that. They want to find another solution to solve this custody problem. An example of that recently is BlackRock. So they've invested in an exchange called the Texas Stock Exchange. They say, well, why are we paying the NYSE and NASDAQ and all these other exchanges all this money to offer trading services for our vast array of exchange-traded funds? Can't we create a more friendly organization to us as the issuers of these products? And so they and some other financial firms have invested, I think, around $120 billion in this new exchange and is going up to get licenses. But is there a better way? Can these financial institutions find a one-stop shop where they can disintermediate some of these players in their field that are earning these economic rents that shouldn't exist? So let's just imagine something. Imagine every single BlackRock ETF traded on an Aptos DEX, right? So there's no more iShares products on the NYSE or Hong Kong Stock Exchange or Kosdaq or whatever exchange that you're familiar with. They now only trade on this DEX on Aptos. So what does that mean? It means they can trade 24/7. I don't know if any of you have ever traded from the seat of a sell-side bank on an exchange, but it's extremely frustrating dealing with the exchange. I was a market maker in Hong Kong and Singapore for 5 years, and I would have constant battles with the exchange over settlements, paying currency for particular stocks. Did I deliver the stock on time? I've had $1 million fines almost levied on the bank because we were late doing certain things, and it's antiquated processes. I remember I had to run around at the end of every day of trading and print out this piece of paper, go to my boss, and he had to sign something, and I had to fax it back to Europe so that I could make settlement. It's mind-blowing how inefficient it is to deal with these exchanges. And as an ETF issuer, you don't want to deal with all that. So let's just remove all that on a DEX. Immediate settlement. Why does it take 1 or 2 days to settle stocks and securities or bonds in this world? It should be instantaneous. It's just data moving around the world. But these exchanges are very reticent to change their policies because as they do that, it exposes that they don't do much of all of anything valuable. They're just a toll taker that can be disintermediated. And what's most important to ETF issuers is listing products in a matter of minutes. Some product manager has an idea, they have a client base that wants a particular flavor of ETF, they make that basket, and boom, it's listed. There's no going to the exchange and going through their process. There's no dealing with the myriad of people that you have to deal with at an exchange to get something listed. Again, I'm very familiar with this. I've listed many, many ETFs across Asia and dealt with many of the local exchanges. It's a pain in the ass. So, and finally, they don't have to pay all these people they don't want to pay. No more brokers, right? It's anyone who's got a wallet, that's your broker. It's easy. Custodians, no more custodian. The chain itself is custodian these assets or a very, easy-to-use wallet. And the traditional exchanges, take all that volume, take all that flow, take all that grift, like the payment for order flow in the US and Robinhood and Citadel, all these guys. Take all that away and internalize that revenue, offer lower fees to your customers, give better kickbacks to the salespeople around the world to peddle your products. So using an Aptos DEX solves a lot of problems for a TradFi institution like BlackRock.